Welcome to Sidekicks with Heather Goodenkoff and Lolo, where we chat with your favorite authors and their pets. And I'm so excited because today we have the wonderful Valerie J. Brooks, who is here with her special sidekick. Valerie is the award-winning author who writes about strong, gutsy women who make mistakes and have lots of baggage, because well-behaved women seldom make history or make good characters for novels. So Valerie illustrates this beautifully in her Angeline Porter series, which include the titles Revenge in 3 Parts and Tainted Times 2. And there's a third one on the way, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
it'll be 2021.
Okay, great. So that's exciting. So thank you, Valerie, for being here with us today. And who did you bring?
Thanks for bringing Stevie and I. This is Stevie. Come here, Stevie. I have to, come on, over here. I'll just pick her up. It's much easier and she's easy to pick up. She's not big like Lolo. Okay, girl. Whoops, daisy. Now she's entangled in my necklace. There we go. Oh, look at the screen. No, she says, give me my chicken.
What a cute face. So sweet.
Yeah, she's a 3-year-old Havanese, and gave her the name of Stevie Nicks because that's my favorite singer, and all my family love her too. We've been to all the concerts, and so
oh wow,
she acts kind of like Stevie Nicks. She's very independent, but she sticks to you when like Velcro when she loves you, and she loves all of us. But of course, as you can see, she's wondering what the heck is going on and where's my chicken. But one thing about her is she's a little big because she's an oversized Havanese. They're usually about 12 to 15 pounds, and I think she and I are both getting the quarantine 15, if you know what I mean.
I think we all are.
Yeah. But she's a love bug. She likes to perform for me and Dan, and I don't think she wants to be there right now. I interrupted her nap time.
No.
But yeah, so that's Stevie. Havanese is a newer breed. They're Havana, as you can tell. That's where they were originally bred for hot weather, and you'd never know that. She hates hot weather.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be able to, they usually have very long fur that hangs to the ground. Yeah, but she's a love bug.
Yes.
When she's not being bothered. Now, that's what I mean about independent.
Yes. Does she have a favorite Stevie Nicks song?
Well, her favorite one is Dreams.
Oh yeah.
And when she's in her mood, it's Stand Back.
Okay. Oh sure. Well, there's one for every mood.
There is. Yeah.
The one that just got really popular again because of the
on TikTok. Yes.
Gentleman on the skateboard. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of cool that it's getting a new concentration on Stevie, because she's back and really working a lot on her own music. So
yeah, she's amazing. I have to say, I think one of my favorites is Landslide. That one always.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That one I can dance to.
So good. So how did Stevie come into your life? How did she end up in your home?
Well, I always had Dan and I always had Springer Spaniels or some rescue mutt. It was always some dog that we loved, and one that was from a breeder. And but my mom had a catastrophic fall. She lived in Florida and broke her whole femur from hip to knee. And so I was down there probably about 4 times taking care of her, but she had this adorable Havanese it was a rescue. Her name was Tia Maria. And of course, Tia Maria had to come live with us.
Sure. Yeah.
We brought Mom here for 4 years while she recuperated, and we were able to take care of her, but she wanted to go back to Florida, which I understand. So We got Tia Maria. We loved her so much. She lived to be about 12. Then she got cancer, which is sad. I can't stand living without a pooch.
Yeah.
So I looked for a rescue that Havanese, and there were none. In fact, most of the time they'd say Havanese, you know. So we ended up getting her from a breeder in Washington. Stevie came to us. She was kind of the runt of the litter at the time, and I wasn't really sure about the breeder, and I kind of feel like I rescued her.
Oh,
You
well,
know,
yeah.
it can happen like that. And she was so kind of upset when we got her, and drove back 10 hours with her, and oh, she threw up 4 times. It was just sad. But once we got her home, she realized, oh, this is really nice. So yeah. So yeah, so that's how she came into my life and Dan's life. And Dan just adores her. He never had a lot of time before he retired to spend with our pooches. And so now it's like he has to take her for the walks, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. And is that one of Stevie's favorite things to do?
She loves her walks because we were in that fire, the Holiday Farm Fire in Oregon, and we were in town, and it was like smoke was like 500 and above. It was awful, very toxic. Finally, we found out that our house had not burned, and we were in this little triangle. And she was so happy when we finally got home because all her friends walk the canal road. We have a canal that goes into Eugene, provides water and for the city. And she just loves meeting all her pals in the morning. You know, so it's very nice to meet pals in the morning and get all wound up and play. There's one named Angel she loves to play with. And so they just get along really good. And she comes home, she's exhausted. Yeah. And then she sits with me, you know, up on my desk. I had to buy an L-shaped desk so she could, you know, have her own portion. I call her my editor.
Always keeping an eye on things.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So how does she contribute to your creative life besides being right there looking over your shoulder as you create?
Well, she's very calm. One of the things I think with writing in COVID times is you're home all the time with everything that's going on. And I used to go with a couple of my friends who were writers to Vero Espresso House. They had rooms upstairs you could rent, and we would go there for 4 hours and get a lot done because you had no interruptions. But here it's always, so I had to learn to kind of be with Stevie, but Stevie's super calm. She just, as long as she's with me, she's just there, and I can reach out and pat her and just feel her there. And she's, you know, I don't feel like I've been, you know, leaving her. And she acts like she hasn't seen me for months when I come home. So I know that this is a really good way to bond with her.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. There's such a comfort to have.
Well, doesn't Lolo do that with you when you're writing?
Yeah, so she'll always be nearby. She won't, fit up on my desk, but she will always be, laying near me or sitting near me. Definitely. And she lets me know when it's time to take a break too. She'll let me know.
That's really true. I hadn't even thought of that, but that is true. They do. They have to have potty breaks once in a while and water breaks. And then at 5 o'clock, she sits up, looks at me and goes, dinner. It's like,
it's like clockwork. She knows exactly the time she should be eating. So
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so much fun. So much fun. So do you have a favorite pet or animal from pop culture or from literature? Maybe from your childhood or even.
Well, I started out not with dogs. I just loved horses. It was in like elementary school, and before we found boys, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And so girlfriends of mine and I on the playground would pretend we were horses. And of course it came from Black Beauty and, you know, My Friend Flicker and all of the, you know, the classics. And it was always, I always wanted to be the black horse, of course, because I write noir. I should have known a long time ago I'd be writing noir. But it's, then it got to a point where I don't remember why I did this, but it was in, I must have been in my early teens. I asked my mom how I got my name. And she said, well, when she was growing up in England, she's from England, she said she read storybooks called Valerie and Her Dog.
Oh, wow.
And after that, I thought, Valerie and her dog, you know, I mean, it just planted that seed. And we did have beagles. We had lots of beagles growing up because my dad was a hunter. And beagles are wonderful dogs, but they are definitely, you know, hounds that are always, you know, you always had to either, you know, keep them on a leash or keep, you know, you couldn't let them go because they get right on a scent and they were gone. So they were just lovable dogs, but they weren't my dog, you know what I mean? And so that's when my first husband and I had a blue tick hound and a beagle, and I'm like, oh. And then we found Springer Spaniels, which Dan and I loved Springer Spaniels. We had three of them. Yeah, three of them. And my mom had a catastrophic fall, and she had adopted a Havanese in Florida.
Yeah.
So she couldn't take care of it. So we ended up with Tia Maria. And then after Tia Maria passed, we got Stevie.
What a great addition to the.
Yeah, she's perfect for us because she's much easier to put in the set tub and give a bath to than a Springer.
Lolo's not a fan of baths.
No, I don't think any of them like baths.
No.
They might feel good afterwards, but trying to get them there's a different story.
Exactly.
But that's one of the reasons why I put dogs in my stories.
Yeah.
I love, you know, I just think it humanizes.
I think so too. I have dogs in every single one of my books as well.
Yeah.
Books of some sort. And
I noticed that.
yeah, so I agree. It's just something about having an animal or a dog in the story just makes it more personal, maybe. You know,
yeah. I think it brings out things in the character too.
Yeah. We learn
particularly if the character is growing. I think animals humanize them if they happen to have like I have badass women in mind, and once they get an animal and have to take care of a dog, there's something that transforms them, I think.
Right.
You know.
I think so too. And you know, speaking of books, you have a newer one out. It's the second in your series called Good Times 2. Can you tell us a little bit about the story?
Sure. The first one was Revenge in 3 parts. It's the story about Angeline Porter, who is disbarred for very recognizable and understandable reasons. She puts away a serial rapist who was once she was supposed to defend, but couldn't see him get off. So anyways, she is out for justice. That is her main thing. She wants justice, and she doesn't find it a lot in the justice system. So she takes it on. The second book in the series is about how she's been in Kauai under a different identity because a Boston family mob is out to get her and the money that she has. And her sister betrayed her early on. And another reason that we see women used by forces that unfortunately sometimes we don't see coming. So this one is all takes place in New Hampshire. Most of it does. And she has a FBI agent who's also trying to bring this mob to justice, but we're not quite sure about him. We're not quite sure.
Unreliable.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be at the right place at the right time. But overall, it's Angeline's story. She finds her other sister who betrayed her committed suicide.
Oh, no.
So she finds out she has a sister she never knew about in New Hampshire. So that's most of the story, and how that sister can and might be involved with the mob that's trying to take her out.
And you tackle some really dark subject matter in your books, and
I do.
present it in a way that's very entertaining to the reader. We want to find out what happens next, and we've talked about this before about you really put a sense of place into your novels. You talked about New Hampshire, and you lived there at one point. You grew up there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yes.
and why?
Yeah, the place I think of as a character.
Yeah.
Place often gives me the sense of who these people are, almost like I teach writing noir classes, and the first thing I do is I have the students or the attendees work with place first to see what comes out of that place. And in doing so, they're not just taking a character and plunking them down somewhere. They're actually the characters growing out of, and we see in Tainted Times 2 how New Hampshire formed Angeline, which we didn't get in the first book. So you're getting more of I think in almost all series, that's the way they work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You keep learning more and more about the characters and what forms them as far as how they deal with situations.
Right. And setting is just like you said. It's like a character and such an important part of the book.
Right. Because I would have never had this one detail. In the first book, Revenge in 3 Parts, it starts in Paris. And at Christmas, as a matter of fact, which is coming up pretty soon. And we were in Paris in the same area. And when we were in Paris, we were getting off the metro to go to our apartment. And there was this homeless man sitting on the sidewalk outside the metro in a baggy, dirty Santa Claus suit with a styrofoam cup that was all ragged, begging. And I would have never got that detail if I hadn't been there.
Right.
Paris,
Yeah, ended up in your book. So
yes,
details that from our own.
I always joke that writers are bottom feeders. It's like just gobbling it up as we go along. So that's why setting, I think, is really important to the development of characters, because you see how Angeline responds to this, person.
Yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
So if Stevie could describe you in 3 words, how might she do that?
Well, we could ask her. She's giving me the dirt. She's giving me the stink eye right now. Quit bothering me. I'm sleeping. What would you say, Stevie? Do you think maybe you would call me provider? Or she does know our names. She knows Dan and Val. So if I say go get Dan, she'll go get Dan. And she's not so good with me. It's kind of like, I'll get her when I want her.
But for our dogs anyway, right? So they're
I know. We always have our stories that we make up with our dogs, and maybe I think she'd call me Mom. Really, I think that's pretty much what she thinks of me as, because I'm the provider of everything that she gets, and I'm also her buddy. So so I can't think of anything that's very outside of that, because it's really all about love, feeding them, she loves hearing, I love you. You know, she goes,
So she really
yep, she just woke up a little bit, didn't you? You heard
heard
that?
that. Yes. Oh, I forgot to ask you, what are you reading? I'm always looking for new books to read. And
Ooh, okay. I think you and I have already, we already found this one.
yes. Oh my gosh. It's
It
amazing.
is so good. And it just reminds me in a way of the classics, you
Yeah,
know, the classic suspense.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really,
And of course that title, Confessions on the 745, that's a perfect title. Also, Kevin O'Brien, who gave me an incredible blurb
yeah,
for my book,
yeah.
he's a New York Times bestselling author. I went and bought all of his books because I just felt like, you know, everyone is so generous in the writing community.
Really.
Everyone, it doesn't matter. It just seems like they try so hard to help. And I'm a fairly new author because, you know, 2 books, you know, you have how many? I don't know how many.
Right now. Yeah, working on my 9th.
Yeah, you're working on your 9th. And, you know, I don't even want to talk about Hank Philippi Ryan because she puts us all to shame. But anyway, this is just an incredible book. I read more than 1 book at a time because I like to have one next to the bed that I read at night. And I like to have one that maybe I read down by the canal, you know, outside. And then I, like you and I have talked about, audiobooks.
Got to have an audiobook.
Yeah.
Wow. As well.
Yeah. Why do the housework if you don't have an audiobook going?
Right. And Kevin O'Brien says, and we're going to all run out and look for your series, but he says about Tainted Times 2 that Valerie J. Brooks has delivered an intriguing thriller that crackles with tension. Filled with clever plot twists, Tainted Times 2 is a real nail biter from the first page to the last. Wow, what high praise. Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. You know, I owe him big time, you know. No, he's just a very, very wonderful man. Even it's so interesting that he writes such kind of dark and twisted stories, and he's such a great guy, you know. But look at us.
Yeah,
we write dark stories, right? So we're pretty normal. Maybe that's how I was asked that once.
Yeah.
Do you think you write dark stories in order to sort of process what you go through?
Yeah.
I never thought of that before because I don't think of them as that type of personal, you know.
Right. I've been asked that question too, and it's a tough one to answer because I don't write autobiographically, but I think, you know, I've said before, we kind of use it as a talisman to keep things away. It's like if we can write about it, maybe it won't happen to us.
I like that. I hadn't thought of it like that, but that's actually probably true.
Yeah. Kind of explore this darkness, this dark world in a safe place, in a safe space to do that. So
that's right. And it is exploration. And I don't know about you, but I do learn from writing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Valerie, for being here today. We're so excited about your series and delving more into characters and the storylines. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It was so much fun, and I hope Lolo gets better.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.